What's good, everybody? First and foremost, big shout out to Bounding in the Comics. They're one of the good guys. Do some great work. They recently got their Facebook reactivated. They had it taken down for some reason, silly reason. They just took them down and didn't really explain why it was that they did that. So they did get their page back. It had 250,000 likes, if I'm not mistaken, or something along those lines. A lot of likes. But as far as the articles, John Trent and those guys do a fantastic job. Again, one of the good guys. There's a lot of crap comic book media out there. They're not one of them. Title: Jonah Jameson will get reinvented in Spider-Man: Far From Home. First thing I saw. Oh no. Oh no. Here we go. Oh, here it goes. Triple J's about to get tokenized. He's about to get turned into a black woman, or an old white woman, or gay, queer, just some complete swap, right? You know they're good for that. That tokenized bug has been going around lately, and I'm like, oh, here we go. It's all about the inclusiveness, right? So they got to have some black woman portrayed in the film. They have to have that representation. So Triple J is going to be turned into a black woman. I don't know. I'm just talking shit. Let's continue. Slash Film sat down with the executive producer during a Q&A while on the Spider-Man Far From Home set in London. And Eric Hosserman Carroll is the guy's name, by the way. While Carroll admitted that J. Jonah Jameson would join the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he declined to comment on how audiences would come to see the beloved character. And he is a beloved character, classic character. One of the few that can, this is very identifiable, no matter, he's just identifiable, he's familiar, no powers, anything like that, just a guy that writes for the Daily Bugle or owns it or talks shits about Spider-Man, editor-in-chief or whatever. Just J. Jonah Jameson in some way, shape, or form has been historically depicted as a guy that's sort of affiliated in some sense, usually very critical of Spider-Man. Classic character. Nonetheless, when asked directly about the Daily Bugle and Jameson joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Carroll had this to say: "Yes, we've absolutely talked and thought about those characters a lot, specifically in reference to this film." He continued, what we just want to make sure we're presenting on them in a way that doesn't make you feel instantly like you've seen them before. So we had a couple of ideas. When I see something like that in mainstream Hollywood these days, that ain't a good sign. It's not to say that they won't depict him in a decent way. We don't know. We got to see the film. But when I hear shit like that, red flags. This is just red flags. Red flags, man. Red flags. And Jimmy just make this point before we continue on through this article. And they do talk about some of the source material, and we're going to get to that. But unfortunately, producers, directors, writers, in, let's say, recent decade or so, when we've seen these needless retcons, these writers are arrogant. These producers are arrogant. What they are saying when they say shit like this, and they make a point, because you can do that without making that point. There has to be some sort of legitimate change if you got to make the point that, okay, we got to make sure that you don't think you've seen this character before. That's a red flag for me, because you're going out of your way to let people know that. Even, you ask about it, but you're going out your way to let people know that that's the point that you're trying to make. The problem is that these people are so arrogant oftentimes, and they think that this is their canvas. They're artists, right? And I get that from an artistic standpoint. This is you want your sort of creativity to flow through this, but there's a certain way you got to handle these characters, right? And because they're already established, you're not picking, this ain't your character. You didn't create Spider-Man. You didn't create Triple J. So And there's going to be a writer before you, there's going to be writers after you that are going to usually write around this character. So really your talent as a writer is not shown by way of how you can make it different, right? That's not simply what it is. It's how you can tell a legitimate story while operating within those confines of, all right, does this feel like this character? Does this act like this character? Is this something this character would do? Is this character something that is this something that he would say? And you tell new stories along those lines while not just completely, all right, this is just the character in name, right? So red flags go up when I hear stuff like that. And why you hear stuff like that is that these people, I'm not saying that Carol is this guy, but oftentimes, even in the comics themselves, you get some of these people that are just so arrogant and it's like, well, it's just my canvas. Fuck what has happened before. Fuck the legacy of the character. Fuck all of that. I'm gonna do what I want. It's arrogance. Anyway, let's do this. Let's keep going. Carol continues to talk about how times, can't read word shit, have changed since the original Sam Raimi trilogy. So there's this cool, weird thing happening where being a photographer isn't necessarily a mark of distinction anymore. We all have better cameras in our pockets than most of them even owned in, 10 years ago. That's true. I don't think that, I think TMZ is going to disagree with you. But, I mean, there's still a talent to photography or being a photographer. There's still a talent to that. Anybody that looks at sports or anything like that will tell you that. There's actual talent to it. But I get what he's saying is that anybody can take a decent looking photo. He's right about that. We all have better cameras in our pockets. I just read that. So how do we get Peter or somebody into that world without it feeling like, do kids really aspire to be photographers for the New York Times anymore? Or do they aspire to have their tweet reposted and so on? So when you read that, it's like, all right, well, is the change going to be centered around more so modernizing him? Is he going to be a figure that maybe a heavily critical talk figure as opposed to your usual or how you historically seen him depicted? So we're trying to, now this is the part I did like. So we're trying to pay as much homage to the source material as possible. And we do think that there are a couple of fun ideas that are in there, I'm guessing. Most of which I don't want to spell out for you, but absolutely. We want to take as much of the mythology that people love and present it in a way that's totally faithful to what people love about it, but in a different way. Now, when you consider it like that, and I'm going to stop there because this just goes on a little bit more. But when you consider it worded like that, that's a decent way to word it. It's, okay, you're acknowledging the source material. You want to pay homage to the source material. This is important. I don't care how great of a writer you think you are, that you can just flip this on its head. Doesn't matter. Nobody gives a shit. Well, normies give a shit, because they're being first introduced to a lot of these characters. They have no connection to that source material. But if you're a producer, that's the right thing to say. Whether he's going to do it or not, I don't know. Because when I hear stuff like, we don't want you to feel like you've seen it before, I have no problem looking at Triple J and I like, there he is. I mean, that's who he is, right? So he could just be paying lip service to this shit. But it's important. And if he absolutely believes this would be the better way to go about it. And that is faithful to the person, to what people love about it, but in a different way. And different has to be along the lines of, we're telling a new story. We're telling even a different story, but it's in respects to the person that has already existed, that people have come to love, people have come to know. That's important. We'll see. We'll see what happens. What do you guys think? Y'all think Triple J is going to be the next person to get tokenized in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Black woman, Triple J, coming soon.